you take it all in your stride, don't you? It's so good to see you. Take a pew, take a pew.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Liam, thank you so much for joining us. Okay, let's bring out the metaphorical crystal ball, all that sort of stuff. But look, what is it that you predict for the future of financial services? And again, from somebody who's at the coalface, what is it that's driving this change?
So, I mean, we're incredibly lucky. I mean, when I started in 2017, there was Paul Taylor, a bunch of engineers, a prototype and an idea, and that's kind of where we were. But at the time, we could see that the whole banking world was looking to shift. So you had the new challengers like Monzo and N26 and these guys who were entering market space and building market share. And then, I mean, we could see from the marketplace, we could see this influx of requests looking to check out what we were doing because they had various different problems that they were trying to solve. And as we grew and as we have engaged with market across the planet, I mean, we have started to see a bunch of trends. Where the market is going is looking to meet customers' expectations on an ongoing basis. And those customers' expectations are being set by their interactions with their own digital devices across how they operate on a day-to-day basis. So whether it be Amazon or Facebook or Google or whatever, there's now an expectation with regards to how they're being serviced, how their products are being delivered to them, how they interact with those institutions, but also now their banking institutions. So where the financial services world is going, on the one hand, is the established banking market across all the various different segments. So whether it be retail or commercial or corporate banking or whatever, is to raise their service offerings to meet those expectations. There's a huge drive across the established banking market to fix their cost base, to be able to compete with new challengers into marketplace. And then you've got a combination of the new guys, and we can see it all over the planet, but the ones you'd recognize here would be Monzo and N26 and those guys. Being more nimble and being able to spot gaps in market and be able to enter into them quickly. And then you've got the large Silicon Valley guys, so Google, Amazon, Apple, all these guys, I mean, using their massive customer base, their considerable technological know-how, and then being able to deliver products and innovative products into that customer base. So competition is massive, and they're all effectively fighting for the same customers.
It's interesting because you've actually addressed the next question I was going to ask you, which is about customer servicing. I mean, look, it is changing, but coming out of that, the impression one gets is that the customer is highly empowered, perhaps more empowered than they were 10 years ago, 15 or 20, and boy, do they know it. Massively.
And it's great. I mean, you can see it all over the place. I mean, again, look at the UK banking market. I mean, especially the millennials, but we can see shift in the entire marketplace. I mean, if you're not getting what you want from your existing bank, in certain areas, not for everything, I mean, there is still stickiness with the institutions, but if you're not getting what you want, I mean, there's high competition out there. There's huge numbers of service providers in various different ways and various different guises being able to offer products in a way that you can consume. It's now becoming much easier to onboard onto products. Customers now frequently have multiple different products. I mean, we can see the whole phenomenon of customers of established banks having their salary paid into those, but then using the new digi platforms, which are real-time, which offer a lot more information and insight onto spend, and using those for lifestyle spending, for instance. And I mean, once you get drift away, or once you get drift from your established customers away from your product set, then, I mean, it starts with one product and then that drift
it
continues.
Multiplies.
And the expectation by customers, I mean, it's huge, and it's across multiple different points. So there is the expectation of real time. Everything should happen immediately. You get immediate feedback as you're interacting with your app, whether you're applying for a loan or you're applying for a mortgage, or you're spending at a point of sale. I mean, you want your app to be able to reflect that immediately. Again, giving you insights into what you're doing with regards to categorization and spend. And I mean, there was a whole phenomenon a couple of years ago around individual PFM apps, but now the expectation is that that's wrapped into your day-to-day spending apps, and you're getting that information back. Responses when you're applying for various different products, again, across credit lines. And I mean, if Paul Harrald was supposed to be here, I mean, he could have gone into a bit more detail on this, but that you have enough, or that the expectation is that the institution that you're interacting with has got enough information and they can respond immediately for your request for whatever it is that you're looking for. I mean, it's enormous, and that expectation is across, is everywhere. We can see it permeating across the entire planet. And I mean, one good example of that from our perspective, So Standard Chartered and APAC, for instance, had spent years across all their marketplaces trying to do various different stuff, both with their underlying infrastructure, but also trying to target new customers and new segments. And they took the opportunity in 2018 to take one of the new e-money licenses out of Hong Kong. But they decided to take a completely different approach to what they'd done in the past and what their peers had done. And they decided to take one of the new e-money licenses and target a new market segment, figure out what that market segment wanted, and build it from scratch. So don't take the approach of what can we give our customers based on what we've already got, but figure out what the customers want and then build a platform to give it to them. And what they found, and I mean, we find that this story sticks with all of the prospects that we speak to everywhere, is that, so the market segment that they identified was this mass affluent millennials who travel a lot was the specific segment. And when they went and they engaged with that segment, what they were looking for was empowerment. So give me a range of products, but I want to choose how I interact with it. I want to choose how it's set up.
Yeah, you control that relationship with the product. 100%,
right. And they've found, I mean, it's been a huge success and they've won a bunch of awards, but they've onboarded an enormous amount of customers in that segment to now be one of the leading platforms for that segment in a highly competitive market in Hong Kong, but based off this concept of hyper-personalisation and allowing the customers to be able to again, as you would with Google, Facebook and others, to be able to configure the application and the products within it to meet your requirements and your day-to-day expectations.
I mean, what intrigues me about this as well is that, it touches on this rivalry, be it real or imagined, between the challenger banks and the incumbents. I mean, look, it is a massively competitive market. He who dares wins, to quote Del Boy. But how are you going to compete to meet these changing customer needs? Who is in the better position to do it? Does it really boil down to size and technology? I mean, what is it?
So again, what we've seen here was that the incumbent established banks, because they were in very strong positions up until a couple of years ago, I mean, basically you'd a small number of competitors per region. They had their customer base. There was very little transition between banks or migration of customers between banks. And you kind of took the product or not, like where else are you going to go? The applications and platforms were in real time and they were not considering their customers with regards to how these services were offered. What we found with the entrance into marketplace of the digis, again in 26, Monzo, etc., was that number one, they had first mover advantage. They were able to build their own platforms and they were able to create products from scratch, again with the objective of giving customers what they wanted. Now, the advantage they have on their side is that they're building from greenfield. They're able to pick their technologies, they're able to build their own engineering base, and they're able to then build what they want. The issue that the large incumbent banks have on the one side is that they're stuck in old legacy technology. They have to keep that running with their existing customer base while also trying to create something new and modernize to be able to compete with those guys. But the competitive advantage that they have is that they've got an enormous customer base. So what we're seeing at the moment, now that everything is starting to settle down, is that the digis are growing, but what a lot of those guys have done is that they've grown on monoline product bases, and they're trying to figure out how to expand and trying to make money, or trying to figure out what the business model looks like to be able to make money off the back of it. But with the established banks, I mean, so what they're now looking for is number one, to maintain what they've got, take a view over an extended period to improve the customer experience, to be able to improve the underlying platform, to allow them to be able to agile and again service their customers, to be able to meet their customers' expectations, and then be able to expand product offering off the back of it. So I mean, they're coming from two different points. So the digis have some advantages, but they still have to find.
But they all want the same thing, basically. I mean, look, let's focus on ThoughtMachine, your company, because it's built what's been called a fourth generation core banking platform. This is Vault. So what makes Vault different from what's already out there? Because we were talking about this earlier in the day, that the pressure is on to make sure that whatever it is you sell, whatever it is you offer, whatever it is you do, it has to stand out from the rest rather than just slavishly copying what's already out there.
So that last sentence is a good point, right? So slavishly copying what's already out there, right? So the view that we took, and it's kind of by mistake, because like I said, when I joined in 2017, it was Paul, 30 engineers, and me effectively.
Nice combination.
Trying to understand what financial services was, trying to figure out what banking was, trying to figure out what a mortgage is, what a credit card is, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the view that they took in the early days was, what they were interested in was, number one, building a platform this whole notion of cloud native. So take full advantage of all of the attributes or positive attributes you get from public cloud. So unlimited access to compute power, unlimited access to hardware, elastic scalability, resilience, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure that it was real time, and make sure that whatever it was doing made all of the underlying data available for downstream consumption for all of the reasons that we would have heard today, because data is valuable. What they were not interested in doing was being prescriptive to banks. So telling a bank what a mortgage would look like, telling a bank what the various different products would look like, and then bank or customer has to take what we've prescribed and then try and figure out then how to integrate it into the rest of their platform. So the solution that the engineers came up with, which is unique, and we know it's unique because we can see it across the marketplace, is that what we've done and what is completely different to everybody else is that we have completely decoupled the logic from the underlying financial services products, i.e. a mortgage, a current account, a credit card, or whatever you want, whatever a bank can conceive. And we've externalized it away from the core product. Now, what that means is that, and we've made it completely accessible to bank or partners or whoever. Now, what that means is that bank or our customers don't need to come to us. So number one, they're not constrained by us and what we're going to give them, but they also don't need to come to us and go, for our market, our mortgage must look this way. You must put it on your roadmap and you must build it out. The banks can completely customize it out themselves. They're not reliant on us for our roadmap. So we can enter new markets or whatever markets they're operating in and quickly turn around products to meet their requirements and specifications, or they can do it themselves on an ongoing basis.
So they have that optionality. You either do it for them or they do it themselves.
Correct. But then where that starts to expand out is whereby, and this age-old question where bank marketing or product department comes up with an idea, and we've seen this a huge amount all over the planet, and they turn around to their technology department or they turn around to the infrastructure guys and they go, we want to build this thing. And the response is, it's going to take 5 years, it's going to cost $1 billion, and it's never going to go away, right? Whereas the difference with us is that once they start to understand how the platform works and that accessibility, and that they're not constrained by vendor or their technology departments, you see the innovation start to churn within the organisation.
Well, you've done the legwork effectively. You've constructed the frame, and you can do what they can do what they want with it.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, look, let's close this out now. I'd love to continue with it, but time is tight. But look, we know that you're working with some of the world's largest tier one banks, very successful partnerships along with the likes of JP Morgan Chase, Intesa, San Paulo, ING, and also new fintechs and challenger banks like Curve and Luna. So how do their strategies differ? What have you noticed, the common thread?
So there's a couple of differences. I mean, JP Morgan differs to everybody else in that, I mean, so they're already dominant in the US. They're taking a 10-year view. They're looking at the Silicon Valley giants over a 10-year period and want to ensure that they're on a platform, because they've got 65, 70 million retail customers in the US and they're looking to expand across the rest of the planet. But they want to ensure that they remain the dominant tier one bank on the planet. So they want to make sure that they're planning now to be on a platform that allows them, no matter what the Silicon Valley giants do, no matter what the rest of the market does, that they're in a competitive position and they're going to remain competitive and dominant. Intesa is similar, but on a smaller scale. I mean, Intesa also, I mean, they're sitting on very expensive legacy infrastructure that they've been sitting on for 30 to 40 years. Has serviced them well, but they're also taking a view that they must modernize, they must put themselves in a position, number one, to remain dominant in the Italian marketplace, but also to expand beyond borders. So the strategy they're taking is they've identified 4 million of their customers who haven't entered a branch in 3 years. So they've decided to start off by building a new digibank platform with Vault in the core, exactly mimic the products that those 4 million customers are on, migrate them across. They're going to use that as a testing bed, and then over the next 3 to 4 years, migrate the rest of the bank. But again, first mover advantage and be on a platform that allows them to go and compete in the rest of the marketplace. The digis are different. I mean, again, they're looking to enter new marketplaces. They're highly creative. They're highly ambitious. But again, they need to be on platforms as they enter new marketplaces, as they want to launch new product lines, that they're sitting on a platform that allows them, that as they conceive of ideas, that they can launch into market quickly and go on attack and compete. Okay, Liam, we have to end the conversation. But look, it's absolutely fascinating what you're doing. I have a feeling that you and I are going to talk at some point in the future, because I'm sure that you'll develop a 5th generation of platforms, possibly even a 10th before the end of the week. But look, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much. Thank you for sparing the time. Could you give him a huge round of applause?